All right, welcome CvCISO podcast listeners. Welcome to episode 31 of the CvCISO podcast. As usual, two good friends, Meg and Jordan, are here. Do you guys want to say hi or no?
No. Hi.
Jordan said no. Meg said, what did you say, Meg? You said hi, Meg?
I did. I said hi.
Okay, good. So we're going to kick this up. Jordan's going to lead this one. And we mentioned in the last podcast episode that we were going to walk through an assessment together where we would rotate. Because, on this podcast here, we've got different viewpoints, different experience levels, different whatever, right? So today, Jordan is going to be the assessor. He's going to act like the vCISO going through the assessment, because we've gotten a lot of questions about this. And I don't think we've provided enough examples for people on how you actually do an assessment, right? There's no right or wrong thing. And I think, some people might stress out about doing an assessment live, a mock assessment anyway, but that's cool. That's actually part of the exercise. It's part of getting the experience. I think anybody who's done, if you can remember back to the first ever time you did an assessment, or if you're an actor, the first time you ever did acting on stage, you know what I mean? You're going to get nervous. It's not going to come natural, but the more you do it, the more it just comes to you. So in this exercise, Jordan's going to be the vCISO. Meg or me, which one of us is going to be the one answering the questions?
You.
Me.
Well, how about you guys are together? You are the business owner, Evan.
Okay.
And Meg, you are the CFO.
Yeah, that's probably good, because this is like almost real life, because I do really suck with money.
Yeah, but so do I.
Shit. Okay, so we're going bankrupt. Jordan, are you expecting to get paid on this particular engagement?
I never expect to get paid for anything.
Okay, good. Then I think, we set the ground, or set the ground? Whatever.
Groundwork.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, I think what I would like to set the table with is that what you're about to witness is not me trying to show you guys how it's done. This is me. My experience is I've been doing security for quite some time, but I'm also an integrator at my organization. I'm sales. I wear a lot of hats, and so my number one job is not performing assessments. And I've been through the courses. I'm CISSP. I'm CvCISO, and I've gone through the course. I've practiced it. I've given 2 full on client assessments, more than that with other types of assessments. But as far as Security Studio, the S2 tool, I've had 2 clients that I've brought through the process. So I don't feel qualified to tell you how to do this, but I'm going to be that person, and I'm just going to do what I can. And we're going to hopefully you get something out of it as if it was you going through it. And we'll talk about challenges along the way. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? There's some hesitation, kind of putting it out there. And maybe, some of the intimidation factor might come from, your client might know more about security than you do, right? And I still get that. You know what I mean? It's not about, I was talking to a friend of mine this week that was down here, and we were talking about, the value of a vCISO to somebody who, because I've been hired by CISOs that I admire enough and I respect enough because they're good at their job that I would actually work for them. And that's saying something, because I think there's only 2 or 3 of those. So if I were doing an assessment with them, they know more about security than I do, in my opinion. And so, but that's not the value I'm necessarily bringing in that situation. What I'm bringing is a different perspective. I'm bringing a discussion about something that maybe they're not thinking about, right? There's so many things about security. So, if you're doing an assessment and you're worried that maybe you don't know as much as the person you're assessing, or they've got more experience, or whatever's going through your mind at the time of doing an assessment, realize that there's other value beyond just what you know about security, about what you know about an assessment. You bring a different perspective that they're not. So it's never that. We just do a lot of that. I think, does that not lead to some of that imposter syndrome stuff that people talk about?
Yeah.
And so I think, when you're comparing yourself, that's when imposter syndrome comes, I think. I don't know. there's no comparison to me because I'm just batshit crazy, but
I think it'll be positive. I think we're going to show different perspectives on our experience level. And
for
so
sure.
someone will be able to relate to all three of our phases.
And now that I think about it, like, is it more experience or just different experience? Because it's not like,
More.
is it
You
more?
definitely have more experience than I do in this industry. So does George.
But if you look at it from different when you bring a different perspective to the thing, I don't know if it's more experience, just different, right? You still have a perspective and it's still as valid as mine. It's different than mine, which is what the value is. That's why I would hire somebody.
Absolutely. I think, maybe we'll see that as we're going through, because, if you're talking about experience of actually walking through this assessment, then maybe there's a more type of a thing. But if we're talking about experience, talking about the subject or thinking about the subject in various ways, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, one way or another, you probably thought through these scenarios, or you care about them in different ways in your life. And
Yeah, I like that.
All right. Well, so let me bare my soul here, and let's see. I'm going to attempt to not really kind of make this too like mocky. I just want to kind of talk and really try to get myself in the zone as if I'm got brought in by you guys, and here's our meeting.
All right. So you're our VC. I'm the owner. Meg's the money person. So anytime I talk about budget, we want Meg to mute so we can spend more money.
All right. So let's go. Thanks for having me in. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to walk you through information security assessment. I wanted to first start by asking you, tell me a little bit about your business. Tell me a little bit about why you had me come in today.
I mean, honestly,
Putting you on the spot right away.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, it's, we read the news all the time. We're getting more and more pressure from our customers who are asking us about security questions that I don't think we feel comfortable answering. From my perspective, I feel I'm sleeping less well each night, I think, because I'm concerned about information security, but I don't know enough about it. You know what I mean? So I think the value you bring is somebody who can help us build a security program. I think we're doing a lot of things right, but again, I don't know. So I think you bringing your expertise to the table will help us just do it right.
Great. And you're the CEO?
Well, yeah, I guess.
What is your expectation at the end of this?
I just want to make sure that I want to have some reassurance that we're doing the right things. Now, I want somebody outside of our company, because when I ask people here, I'm not sure they have a lot of information security experience. So I don't know if the recommendations, if the guidance that we're getting is the right guidance. So what I'm expecting out of this is, tell me what I need to be concerned about. Tell us what we need to spend money on, and help us just do better.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I think we'll be able to deliver on that for you. And Meg?
As the CFO, obviously people are continuously asking me for budget dollars, and I don't understand it well enough to know where that money should be. What are the priorities and where it should be allocated? So I'm here to get a better perspective and a better understanding of our current status.
Great. Yeah, there's no shortage on places where you can spend money, right? So
right.
Hopefully this will focus you guys in on where the most significant place to spend your money. Wonderful. All right, well, let's get started. Share my screen.
And so the process, just so I'm clear, the process is we're going to do this assessment with you, and it's going to take, I know it, I'm actually happy that it's going to take long period of time. I mean, I'm busy, but I don't want to feel like we're cutting corners either. But the process is, after we do this assessment, what comes next?
Yeah, so after we do this assessment, so you're right, we're going to sit down and we're going to get into the details, and we don't really want to cut corners. So I'm glad you said that. It's going to take some time. And but I should be able to have you out of here before 5 o'clock.
That's cool.
And at the end of this, what we'll do is we'll put together, we'll go over the assessment that all the questions that we've gone over, all the details, and we'll put together a report. What you'll get is, one of the things you'll get is a score, so that you'll know exactly where you're at. Think of it like a credit score. Banks make decisions on how risky you are as a money borrower by your credit score. And what you'll get at the end of this is a score that just lets you know how, geez, my computer just lets you know exactly where you are on that level. How risky are you? How much risk do you have? And then it'll reveal the gaps. So hopefully at the end of this, we'll also have a roadmap of exactly the things, the risks that you have, and we can help make decisions on which ones are the most significant risks to attack first.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, because one of the things I get frustrated with is, it seems like, and I'm gonna say you guys, but it's not you.
Can't hear you.
know,
I just lost. So hold
yeah,
on a second.
you lost audio. But one of the challenges and frustrations with me is, you talk to security people, and it seems like a lot of times you guys just tell us what we're doing wrong. It's just this wrong, and it's kind of depressing. So I'm hoping that on the other side of this, you'll actually tell us what we're doing right. Because I think just as important for us on what we're doing wrong is what we're doing right. And then if you can provide us some sort of like just path forward, and again, for me, what I'm looking for is just, I want to make sure we're doing things right, but I don't also, I don't want, like, you're doing this wrong. And I don't want any of the fear shit. I don't want any of the fear stuff. So it'll be fun to go through this.
Definitely, yeah. And I can tell you that you're not alone. There's many. Every organization has some sort of risk that they have to consider, and all types of risks. Information security is just one of the risks that a business needs to face, and so we're gonna look at it no different than all the other business risks that you have to evaluate. And so, yeah, you're gonna be doing some things right. We'll make sure to highlight those, and then we'll just see where the gaps are, and help you make a risk decision on each of those to create your path forward. Definitely. And how we do that is we take you through 4 phases of a risk assessment. And the 4 phases are administrative controls, physical controls, technical controls, and we look at both internal technical controls and external. And because this is not just an IT issue, this is a business issue. This is risk management. And so as you're looking at this, that's why we don't just have the IT person in here doing this assessment. This is for you, Evan, to consider and make risk decisions for your business that fit with who you are and who your company is.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I feel like, because it's like, it seems like it's always an IT thing, but then I'm, honestly, it's like I'm thinking, then why am I concerned? Why do I feel like, why do I question whether or not we're doing the right things or not? If it was just an IT thing, then I would just give it to the IT person, but I feel like there's more to it. And, I'm hoping that there'll also be, as time permitting, there'll be an education piece to this too. What can I do better, as the leader?
Definitely. Yeah. And that's my job for you. My role in all of this is to, as we go through this, I'll help consult you on what the risk is. Some of this stuff is going to be technical, and we'll help kind of narrow it down into what it actually means for your business and consult you on the risk decision you have to make. But then at that point, it's your job to make that risk decision. And there's multiple ways we can do that. I can coach you through, and then we can help you implement what that decision is.
Awesome. So let's get started. What part are we starting with?
We're going to start with administrative controls. This often is the one. I don't want you to get too down as we go through this, because this is one that often many businesses struggle with. They often maybe have a lot of technical controls in place, but they're missing some of the administrative ones. So we're going to start here. This is the human part of the business. This is going to be talking through policies and how you approach the human side of the business.
And I just got pulled away by the CEO, so I'm going to step out for a second
I
and I'll
am the
be right
CEO,
back.
Megan, I am the CEO.
Yeah, that's right. The accounting person.
There's a person here. I got to go. Just like maybe say, you ate something bad and you got to go.
All right. Well, let's get started. So tell me a little bit about how you manage your risk today.
In terms of this kind of risk, like information, like this
Yeah.
security stuff.
Do you have any kind of a information security risk management program today?
No, I mean, I don't think so. Because I don't think that, and I think maybe that's part of the uncomfortableness is I don't know what I don't know. And so, no, I would say there's no like formal risk management thing here.
All right.
There you go. There you go.
So then, I mean, would you say that I'm stepping out of the mock right now? Is that enough? Would you just move on, or would you say
Well,
anything
yeah.
else at that point? They don't have one.
Well, I mean, oftentimes here I'll get the question, what do you mean? What do you, risk management? They don't think of it that way. Typically, I mean, especially if you're talking to the business person more than, So usually what I get back is, what do you mean? And then it's explaining it to them. A risk management piece would be, we
So
have
like reading through this,
I would use that for guidance. Like if I was like, oh shit, I don't know. But normally it's just, a normal conversation about, you have risks, right? The likelihood of something bad happening, the impact if it did. What we want to do with a formal risk management program is put some structure around it so that we can feed good information to you as the leader of the business to make those good decisions. And I know it might seem a little abstract right now because this is new to a lot of people. It's something we should have been doing as an industry a long time ago, but it's new. And so anything that's new is going to, come with a whole bunch of questions. It's going to feel uncomfortable. So you can go down that path. In this instance where I said, no, we don't have anything formal and everything like that. And you run into this because, full transparency, the performance of the tool itself, Security Studio, needs to be improved. And that's why we're doing all the back end stuff to make that better. So when you click that next section, there's this pause because you're waiting for the next screen to come up, right? So you're like in this transition, it's like, okay. And then it's silence, right? So how do you feel that silence? You can talk. I mean, if you know what's coming up next, because you've done this before, then you can start kind of leading into that next part of the assessment, or you can give more explanation. Like if he says, or she says, or whoever you're talking to says, no, we don't do anything formal. You can elaborate. Well, that's, actually pretty common because I want to use this time also to build rapport with them. Because I know that as we continue to go through the assessment, what they told me at the beginning is I already kind of know that you don't really have anything formal, right? And we already started that discussion. And so I'm kind of expecting mentally as your CvCISO that your score is going to be pretty shitty. And it's going to be pretty shitty mostly on administrative controls, right? And so knowing that, I know that many of these questions I'm going to ask, it's going to be no. And then they're going to transition from no, but. They go from no to no, but, because now they feel like they have to justify. They're feeling guilty. Like, no, but, no, and it gets, so I try to have that stuff.
Experience that.
Yeah, that's normal. And if you don't put a stop to that, then it starts to become adversarial, where it's no, but stop asking these because it's very uncomfortable in the room now. So knowing that that's kind of the way it goes, I try to like remind them that it's normal. This is okay. That's why we're here. We're going to, together, we're going to make this better. Obviously, your business is still doing awesome because you have a great business. This is just how to make it awesomer. And then I'll remind them if we've gotten the place where there are the no buts, no buts, no buts, I know that the next part is probably going to be the adversarial thing. So you read the room a lot, and then before we get to the adversarial thing, if I can, or if we're already in the adversarial kind of spot, I'll stop and I'll remind them, I work for you. I work for you. Nobody else knows about this. The value you're going to get from me will be directly related to the truthfulness in the answers. So yes, it's going to suck. I understand
Is that
that.
something I think, because I was just thinking that I gave a disclaimer that this section often will have a lot of no's, and not to get discouraged. But, should all that stuff maybe have been brought up? Should I have brought that up ahead of time? Like making sure to say that I'm, honesty is the best way to get value out of this. And I'm on your team here. Not calling the cops. I'm here to give you the truth. And so the more truth you give me, the better you're going to have at the end. That would have been maybe at the beginning.
You'll have your own style. You know what I mean? And when you try to emulate other people's styles, you start to kind of erode your own authenticity. And the authenticity is really, really important in the trust piece. And so that means I'm not going to say you should do that or shouldn't do that. I mean, depending on your relationship with that person and if it fits your style. One of the things that I would always pretty much do that myself, just set proper expectations. When we did the CvCISO course, you did the customer profile. Before you even walked into this room, I already knew a lot about you. I knew your style a little bit. I knew, especially like the CEO, if that's who I'm talking to, and they're public at all, I've already put them into which bucket is the most, prominent. Is it ego? Is it money? Is it mission? And then I'm going to try to talk from that perspective with them. So it all comes down to the relationship. Back to your question, should you start with outlining all those expectations? I think it helps for sure. I think in most cases, because it lowers their guard a little bit.
Yeah.
I would do the same thing if you started asking me about the quality of my marriage. Like, well, tell me, how often do you rate her poems? I'm like, fuck, I don't write poems. After a while, you're like, fuck, I really suck at this, and I shouldn't suck. I understand.
How many years have we been married? I wrote poems about that many years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I think, just just talking in my own head, I'm thinking that I would love, when I did the expectations part with you guys, I probably should have taken the moment to say, okay, well, here are my expectations. And that would be a nice, place to list whatever, want to make sure to distinguish right at the beginning.
Yeah, you can head them off at the pass too. Like, if I know that it's going to be a lot of no's, just acknowledge that up front. Like parts of this assessment will feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you might feel like it's a lot of, we're not doing this, we're not doing this, we're not doing this. And I just want to, your first time going through this, that's kind of normal. And that's great. It gives us stuff to work on, and probably stuff that's not going to cost you any money. We just have to shift some things around. But you are going to get uncomfortable and you might get defensive.
I also think you can be proactive on the yeah, but stuff, because that's what I ran into was, there started to become this justification like you were talking about. And because answers were partially true. So it was, yes, but. So I think handling that discrepancy in the beginning before you start, that partial truths are false. And then you could remind them of that if you start to hear the yeah buts.
For sure.
All right. We can, we've gone through one.
Nice.
This might be a long series.
But that's okay. Yeah. I mean, you're learning a lot because so much of the vCISO job is this. It's people skills.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, the tech shit, anybody can run a damn tool, but actually talking to real people who probably, they might have started off like, oh, I'm really looking forward to this. And about 3 questions in, they're like, I feel threatened and I don't like this anymore. So
And
handling that.
I think my struggle that people will probably witness along the way is like, because I feel like I can be extreme. You answer the question, and you kind of saw it in this one, like where it's like I could end up. I don't want to waste their time, but I could. Like if I just start talking and explaining things, I could end up wasting a lot of times where really it's like they said no. Maybe I should just mark the question and move on. But then I don't want to get too comfortable just doing that, where it almost seems that's when it seems like, oh, you're just checking boxes for me. You could have just sent me the spreadsheet, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the value is in this thing. And that's why I don't like, and that's why we've never taken the Security Studio tool towards automation. Just automate everything. Just click the damn button and it's easy. Great. You'd get good data probably, but you'd miss out on this part. So much of what the consultation and the leadership piece is educating people. You know, you're going to find a whole bunch of things that they never even considered. And some of those things are going to feel guilty that they didn't consider it because it's like, oh, I should have probably thought about that. And that's where, you know, you just enforce with the encouragement stuff.
Perfect. All right.
So the good one about this one, you know, then your next one, this one's a pretty easy question to
Do you have
start
cyber insurance?
Exactly. I mean, yeah. So 1, 2 of the administrative controls, you know, do you have cyber insurance? And I'll go back into the CEO role now. I think so. Meg, do we have cyber insurance? I think we had something.
We do.
Okay. We do have cyber insurance.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, you know, one of the ways that, you know, you can make a risk decision is by transferring it. And that's one of the ways that insurance comes into play. It's not necessarily so this is where now I'm going off on a topic. It's not, what was I going to say?
I think you're going to say something about how my beard looks nice today.
In your, this is, do you know how to contact them in case of an incident response? An incident response is needed. If you were to have an incident, do you know how to contact your insurance provider? Do they provide incident response?
That's the part I would say is weak.
Yeah, I would
On
say
our end.
I didn't even know if we had cyber insurance. So I'd say no,
Okay.
probably. I mean,
Yeah.
something we should look at.
Do you have any existing information security policies?
Yeah, I think we have some laying around here somewhere.
Meg, do you know where they are?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I do, but they're real, you know, it's the classic, the policies are kind of tucked away in a drawer somewhere and they're not really alive and active within our organization.
Have you reviewed them recently?
I haven't seen them.
Yeah,
I think we did them a while back because we had a customer that was asking about it or something.
Yeah.
No, I
If you
remember.
Been a
could-
while.
I
If you
had
could
to.
send those
I
to
had to-
me, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, I remember I had to approve them, but I haven't seen them. Honestly, I don't know where they are. Probably.
And at this point, so what's going through my head right now is, would this be the time? So obviously, I'll just say, send me those to them. I already have red flags going that, okay, they exist. You know, they probably have templates or old policies that just exist in a folder. No one knows where they are. I don't know that I want to keep berating that issue. You guys already kind of said it, so I could ask more questions confirming that. But then I don't know. I was thinking, okay, send them to me. Do I want to talk any more about that before going on to the next section? Like, I can review those with you, or, you know, should we just scrap them and start over? Kind of a thing.
I think digging a little deeper in the insurance information security policies, because even though I said you did mark it false. Okay. I thought that
Well,
one was true.
And the, I mean, and this is a level 1 assessment, right? So
Yeah.
the detailed getting into the weeds a little bit more, you know, comes, you know, in the level 2, level 3 assessments. So yeah, there's no sense in, especially if you're talking to the executives, right? If you're talking to CEO and the CFO, it's kind of get as much information. Hopefully it's quality information to answer the assessment and then kind of get out of there, you know, move on. because one of the things I don't want to do with, especially with executives, is come off like I'm wasting their time, because I will want to talk to them again, and I don't want them to be like, another fucking 3 hours with that guy.
Yeah, like that's what I was thinking about too. Like, how much do I want to just kind of save for the final, the analysis at the end? Like, I don't have to give them all the answers during the assessment, although it might be nice to touch on some periodically, depending on, I guess. But
Yeah, if your curiosity takes you there, you think maybe it's a good conversation point that might be valuable. Another thing, yeah, with the expectations, up front, explaining to them that we're going to go through the assessment, right? We're going to gather a bunch of information. That's really what the purpose of the assessment is at this point. Just gather as much information as we can. Try not to waste your time. And then there'll be follow-up questions. So open that door, because in this case, I'd asked you to send me, or you had asked me or us to send you the policies. Well, you're going to review those, and then you'll have probably some follow-up questions from those. And so I should expect that. So in this case, you asked, do we have any information security policies? You said blah, blah, blah. I did say true on number one, because I said I approved them somewhere, right? But I don't remember where they went. On the second one, are they easily understood and everything like that? I would probably just tag a note there, because I'm going to interpret that one based on when I get them, when I see those policies. Because I wouldn't really be able to ask them. I could ask them, well, in your opinion, are these things written in a way that they're easily understood by the intended reader? I just said, as the CEO, that I don't even know where the hell they are, and Meg said they're tucked away somewhere. So we wouldn't be able to answer that question just based on that. So I would, I'm going to get these policies and I'll take a look at them. But I also, would caution people that are doing assessments to not get wrapped around the axle on the way you're doing it, right? I think a lot of us want to strive for perfection. It's never perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And so you may, okay, that's enough, and just keep going forward. And then when you go back later, you're like, oh man, I never asked this. I never asked that, or whatever. That's normal. So, don't try to make sure that I really nailed section 2.1 before I went on to section 2.2. You talked about it. You asked, let's move on.
okay, yeah, good point. Like, you don't have to have every perfect response question nailed. The freedom to say, okay, I might send you some follow-up questions along the way when you notice that, oh, I didn't ask that. And I like that's
sure.
freeing, I think.
I did an assessment once, believe it or not, and this is kind of a horror story. It was of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which is really big down in Memphis. And this was before we had any tool or anything. So I was doing the assessment based on, our spreadsheets and notes and all that stuff. Did the assessment, and somehow between the time I did like the face-to-face, not the assessment, I did the interview piece, the information gathering over like a course of 2 days there. And I went back home and procrastinated a little bit, which is what I do. And then that was like getting time to, all right, I should start putting together what information I have, what gaps I still have, so I can create, a report. I had deleted all my data. I don't know where it went. I could not find any of my notes. I couldn't find spreadsheets. I couldn't find nothing. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. So then it was just sit down in a quiet place, focus, like, okay, I asked this question. What did they answer? You know what I mean? And they had sent the evidence stuff, because like you did, do you have policies? Well, send them to me. I had that stuff. I had stuff that they had sent, but all my notes and everything else and their answers to questions was gone. So I had to rebuild the assessment based on memory and based on other kind of ancillary information. That was super stressful.
And you got through it?
Yeah, I got through it. They loved the assessment, and, we worked for them for another maybe 5 years after that.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah.
But I think the
How long
point,
did it take you?
What's that?
How long did it take you?
Well, I think when you actually get heads down probably just a few days, but it was, but the point there is, we have this like, oh shit, I don't have the answers to all these questions, but I'm going to connect the dots and whatever. And you put so much stress on yourself and make sure you get it all right when you don't really have to put that much stress on it. You know what I mean? You look at it from their perspective, they're getting the value out of the assessment. And when you go through the assessment and you start building that roadmap, you're probably going to find a whole bunch of questions you got wrong. Like, they said this, I marked it down as that. And then, you go through making the risk decisions and they're like, wait, and they're like, well, we actually do that. Like, oh, got it. I mean, there's things that are going to get lost in the interpretation.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, because I think that is a fear that I struggle with too. Because I know that I'm not good at listening when I'm trying to talk, and so I know my notes can be, I'll write a note and won't understand it later or something. And one of my biggest fears probably is talking to someone, saying something as if it's what happened, and then they're like, that's not what I said, and then they like find me out that I wasn't listening good enough, or I feel like this anxiety about that.
Well, and that's one of the things I do. Yeah. And that's one of the things I do before delivery, right? There's two things I've always done after the assessment, and on the delivery side, it's number one, you went through the assessment with me, Mr. CEO or Miss CEO, and you know about all these things we talked about. If you were to score yourself on a scale of 300 to 850, where would you put yourself? And they'll be like, well, I thought we did pretty good, maybe 700. Because that gives me an idea before I even start the conversation and deliver the report on what I'm going to have to do. Because if you thought you're 700 and you're actually like a 350, all right, I'm going to have to justify why you're not what you thought you were. And same goes the other way. So I always do that on the delivery. But then the second thing I always do is remind them on the process, right? We spent some time together. I asked you a whole bunch of questions. A whole bunch of data, all this stuff, and then went through and got through the assessment. Things always get lost in translation. So there will be things, if we actually go through the assessment line item by line item, and you don't find something I got wrong, then, that's never happens. It never does. There's so much stuff we're talking about. So you should give me probably a big pay raise for that one. But the point is, you're going to find things that I got wrong. You said this, I heard that. That's what got marked. You know what I mean? So just normal.
Yeah, I suppose that's great. I feel like that's a good way that maybe I would add humility when going through the roadmap is maybe just recognizing that, hey, we're going to go through this. If I got anything wrong, that's this is our chance to kind of get it clarified.
Yeah, the world doesn't end if you got it wrong. I just go back into the tool and click the right one.
Yeah.
Stopping.
All right.
Let's see. That was me. I should have another cigarette. Okay, fine. But that's all right. Yeah, we put so much pressure on ourselves in doing assessments. It's like, it's not like that. It's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. All right, back in character. Let's see how much time we got.
In character, how are you?
Okay, well, I can probably already mark this.
Exactly. You can just go right through this one.
Maybe explain why we're marking that false, because
and for the listeners, this is section 2.2, right? For the people that aren't watching the video, for the listeners, this is section 2.2, where it's review of the policies for information security. In the previous section 2.1, I already answered these questions, right? The questions are: policies are consistently reviewed at planned intervals. We already know that's false.
Mm-hmm.
Information security policies have been formally reviewed in the last 12 months or less. We already know that's false. So when you're doing the assessment and you get to this, it's like, I'm just going to click next section again. Or maybe I might, as I'm waiting for the tool, I might say, well, do you recall the last time you saw the policies? You said you approved them. How long ago, estimate how long ago that was? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this year? You can just talk about whatever while you're waiting.
Moving through the next sections has been going pretty quick for me here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Do you have any have you assigned any formal roles for information security within your organization?
No, I mean, the IT people, I think, and we've traditionally put it, they do most of the stuff. I think they're
Do you have an internal IT staff or outsourced?
internal. And I think it's mostly informal, you know? I mean, I think people kind of know what they're supposed to do, but I don't know if they actually know what they're supposed to do
So there's no one with like an actual title of information security, this or that.
until we hired you, Jordan. No,
But
that's another problem.
if there was some security issues, the people accountable would be the IT team.
You know, that's a kind of a fear. I mean, but you know, if it's bad enough, then it's probably me, you know, and that's part of the struggle for me is I don't know if I'm doing the right things or if we're doing the right things.
Yeah, but the buck stops with you on these decisions.
Yeah. I try to put Meg, in the way first.
I don't let him.
I know.
Like I would be resisting the urge to dive into that, right? Not like to talk about who's accountable and stuff. I don't know that would be necessary at the assessment time, but
No, but you could, I wouldn't go any deeper because this is a part where it might cause some frustration too, because we're talking about accountability and responsibilities. And I'm going to feel like,
for the
I
assessment,
should.
all I need to know is,
Do you have it or
is
not?
there a formal recognition of who's held accountable?
Right. Because especially because when you get to the roadmap, then you can dig in deep on this. Because if I chose as, like this is not acceptable, I think we need to do something about this. Well, then that's a great conversation to go deep. But yeah, I would resist the urge unless they're taking you there. I would resist the urge to go deeper. It's risky. They can be like,
Just so
You
you
say-
know, Jordan's
say-
taking a note.
are you saying I ain't doing my
Oh, yeah,
job?
sorry. See, this is my problem. I can either talk or I can either take a note.
Right? But you can explain that to them. Now you can explain that too. Like as we go through natural conversation, but there are going to be times throughout the assessment where I'm going to be taking notes, right? I want to provide as much value as I can to you. I want to be as accurate as I can for you. So there'll be these times of awkward silence, use that time maybe to check email or whatever. But yeah, you need some time to take notes.
Last question, CEO, Mr. CEO,
Yes. How can I help you?
Evan Francine, or Meg, CFO,
CFO,
beloved
money person.
CFO.
Yes.
Do
that's
you
horrible.
have in your organization? Do you have separation of duties for any critical authorizations or anything like that? Or is it just kind of one person can approve?
I think we're small. I think in a lot of cases, one person can approve something. They're part of the business. We don't have a lot of places where, somebody needs to check somebody kind of thing. Meg, you probably do. I think we do some stuff like that in the finance side, where like
Signing checks or anything like that?
yeah, I think we don't have where somebody can, I don't know, Meg, you can talk about that.
Yeah, I think, like Evan said, we're small. So it's not uncommon for the same person that makes the modification or makes the change, whatever it is, to also be the person that administers it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not really that checks and balances thing like you have,
Yeah, right.
because in my previous experience, working in larger companies, there was always that, but I don't know. That'll be a challenge because I'm not sure how we would tackle that, but we'll get to that after the assessment, I assume.
Is there any way to monitor any of those changes? Do you have?
I don't know.
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet. In the finance department, I'm not sure business wide, but we have checks and balances. We have a spreadsheet.
Okay, so if someone were to make a fairly like critical change or decision or approval, you'd have a way to go back and determine who it was.
Correct.
I hope
On
so.
the finance side, what about IT side, accessing systems or folders?
I would be no. I mean, I don't know. I don't know of anything. I think we maybe have to talk to the IT folks to see if they've got something in place. I would assume there's something, but I don't know what it is.
So
Okay,
on
There's
that
nothing.
one,
There's
I
nothing
would leave it.
formal. I don't have anything.
And
I'm
who
not
is the
involved in
IT folk I should reach out to for that?
It's Jordan Tech,
Jordan, high tech.
Jordan High Tech, Jordan Awesome
Sorry.
Tech.
Now, in this one, Evan, the second question. So what I would do if I were taking this is I would leave it blank, and then I would have a note attached as to why it was blank.
Yeah, you can do that. And there's another trick that some people do. So as you're going through the assessment, and being that even if you have questions, right? If you answered both of them, up at the top, you've got, we can mark the question complete. Where the hell is that? To the 3 dotted thing or something? No. Where the hell is it? See, it shows you how long I've been in the tool. All right. Maybe it used to be there. It used to be where I could flag it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if I'm clear that I don't need any follow up on this particular question, I would mark it as complete. And then if there was parts that I wasn't sure about, I wouldn't. But on this, yeah, Meg brought up a great point. That second question maybe is just a follow up, and so just leave it blank.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, if you had time, enter a note on why you left it blank and what kind of follow up you might need. But you might remember as when you go back to the office away from the interview, you might remember.
Because that helped me see, where the gaps were when I was all done.
Yeah, for sure.
It's almost like I'd like to create a task right from here, like follow up with IT. Like I'd start building my to-do list of what I need to do.
The internal notes can be used for that. I wouldn't make
at
them.
the end of this, I can pull what are.
No, I see what you're saying. Like create a specific task list after you're done with the interview piece of things that you
that I
still
have to go
complete.
back and check off
That's a good product
for myself. Should we stop there? That's the end of section 2. For this round, should we continue with section 3 later?
Yeah, I
Sounds
think
good.
this is good. When you said duties, I giggled inside, even as the CEO. I was like, duties. You said duties.
All right. Well, that was good. Hopefully that wasn't too annoying or choppy.
Here's the
No,
best
I
that
thing.
was helpful for me
Fantastic.
just running through it.
You did fantastic, Jordan.
Right. The best thing for me is that you just did it. I mean, uncomfortable things or whatever, it's like, just do it. And it's going to, even if it sucks so bad, it was the worst damn interview, worst damn assessment you've ever done in your entire life. How much did you learn from it? It's those growth opportunities that, you miss out on when you don't just dive in. Yeah, you may look
at
really
least you didn't-
stupid, but I won't look stupid next time or less stupid.
At least you didn't lose all the information after the assessment.
Yep.
I expect that I'm going to go back and listen to this series. I think it'll be a very
Valuable.
very good learning opportunity to sharpen and start building how, like you said, like not to emulate, but like to hear these things and then put together your own way of how you organize an assessment for yourself and think through it.
Yeah, and I think emulating is fine too, just as long as you don't lose your own style. You know what I mean? It's all about your people skills as you're going through the assessment, more so than it is your technical information security expertise. I mean, people with really good people skills can talk openly about shit they don't know anything about, That's fine. We don't want to do that to mislead people, but yeah, you can. Cool. Because I learned stuff too, man. I learn every time. Shit. I mean, I learned learned things that I can formalize maybe in the way assessments are done. Because you asked some really good questions about upfront laying the groundwork, the expectations. It also reminded me of some of the mistakes I've made, along the way. And I shared the one with losing everything, but still made it through. I mean, chances are pretty good you're not going to lose all your assessment stuff when you're doing yours. It'll be all right.
No, I had to give my daughter a lesson. My daughter she was missing her school binder. And so we had like some stress last night. She was freaking out because she's like, what if I never find it? And it's relevant to this because I had to explain to her that everyone loses stuff,
Yeah.
and there's always a path forward. And
yeah. And it's at the time too, it's crazy because at the time it seems like, my God, this is the worst thing ever. The world is going to end. It never is that. You know what I mean? I think you panic a lot when you can't put it into perspective. Like, okay, I mean, worst case, they're going to be, I can't produce the assessment based on memory and other stuff. And I'm going to have to go back, or I'm going to have to admit my mistake, or I'm going to have to, they're going to hate me and they're never going to do business with me again. I mean, okay, that's definitely not what you want. I mean, I don't want any of that stuff, but that's the worst case scenario. Nobody's going to die.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
That's it. So next week, who is it? Is it you, Meg? Are you going to be taking us through? And
Next
Jordan
week
can
is
be the
my turn to lead, so I will be the interviewer, and then you guys can decide
like a pirate.
who's
I'll be the
CEO.
interviewer. I'll be the interviewer.
it's like we're doing some HR questions, so maybe I'll be the HR guy.
Nice.
Awesome.
Human resources. All right. That's good. Good episode, guys. I'm excited to keep going through this because we're all valuing, it doesn't matter what level of experience you have. If you've done 1,000 assessments before, you're still learning, right? You're still picking up these tips and tricks. If you've done no assessments before, awesome. I mean, you've got a clean slate. Get out there, take your lumps, along the way, try to do the best job you can. It's going to be fine. Jordan did a great job, man. I appreciate it.
Love you all.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Next episode.